Huge thank you to CIBC for making We Get It possible. Hello, everyone. My name is Karine. I'm the program director with Yak Young Adult Cancer Canada. Welcome tonight for a new episode of We Get It. We Get It comes on live on Facebook every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we also have all our past episodes, which are all wicked awesome, living on our YouTube channel. And the great thing about YouTube is that you can go there and watch an episode with closed captioning, which might be something useful for you. So this is We Get It. And this week, I am in a really great company. I'm sure you're going to say, you always say that. I always mean it. So I'm with Katie Sevalrud.
Yeah.
All right. People challenge me with their name. Katie is the executive director with Knight's Cabin. And me and her today are going to talk a little bit about, Knight's Cabin. We'll learn about the organization, and we'll also talk about this really cool project that they have coming, Walk It Out, and the benefits of nature, how nature can benefit us, can benefit our community members going through cancer, but also everybody around them. So that's going to be our chat. Today, I am in my home office, which for those of you who have watched a few episodes, you're used to it. I have not renovated this space. It is my home space. I'm wearing a blue and white striped shirt, and I'm wearing my hair up today. I have dark hair and wearing this necklace that my sweet, beautiful cousin brought for me from Italy, I think. A few years ago that I really love. So this is me today, and Katie, thank you and welcome for being. Thank you for being here and welcome.
Thank you so much, Karine. I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. Really excited to talk about Knight's Cabin and nature. It's nature is my most favorite thing to talk about. So, and thank you for giving me an excuse to wash my hair. My hair is down for once, and I have my new spring top on because I think spring is on its way.
So let's make it happen.
Yeah, we will it to be here. So, yeah.
Thank you. So, like I mentioned, so you are executive director at Knight's Cabin. So, for some of our community members, you might have heard of Knight's Cabin. They've been in existence for quite a few years now. But how about we start by just you telling us a little bit more about what Knight's Cabin is?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So, we are based in Calgary, Alberta. So, we are close to the mountains. We're pretty lucky to be here where we are, but actually, our founder is from Newfoundland. So, we have held our healing retreats out there as well. So, Knight's Cabin is named after Jane Knight, who was Lisa's best friend. And shortly after graduating high school, she was diagnosed with cancer. And Lisa at the time didn't know, how to help, what she could do. So what they did was go for walks, do yoga, and doing all of those activities actually helped relieve some of the side effects of Jane's treatment, improved her mood, helped her sleep. And so her legacy is what inspired Lisa to found Knight's Cabin, I think about 8 years ago now. So over the past 8 years, our bread and butter has been our retreats. So we are kind of on a mission to empower cancer survivors to, make the best of their lives through learning about nutrition, sleep, exercise habits, stress management, all of those things that can improve your quality of life. Unfortunately, they're all on hold now.
I know. It'll come back. And I love this, like within your mission, and even in just the last few minutes, what you said, as you probably know, because I know you do research, has hit so many points. So I know I say it all the time because we want people to know about it. But a few years ago in 2017, Yak embarked on this adventure of a big research project, the Yak Prime Study. And that was done with 622 young adults who took part of that. And some of the results we found, we're continuing to find new things and disseminate the information. But what you said are huge things in our young adult population. So psychological distress is really big in our community members. Fear of cancer recurrence, sleep, like our community is not sleeping well, and it's really affecting them on so many levels. Quality of life, physical and mental, are not great. So all of those elements that you mentioned that are
Mhm.
part of your mission are things that we know our community members really struggle with, and that we want to change. And I think, well, Knights Cabin is part of the solution. But yeah, these are big things, and I know they're big things for most cancer survivors and most people living with cancer. But
Mhm.
it's certainly huge in our young adult community.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard because I think yeah, I think that that question that comes up after a cancer diagnosis, so now what, especially after treatments are over, what do you do? You've dealt with the treatments, you've spoken to doctors about how to get through that, how to improve your quality of life during that time. But there are repercussions for survival, really, like which would be the anxiety, the depression, fear of recurrence, all of the things you just mentioned.
Mhm.
And I think we're so lucky here in Canada to have organizations like Yak. Um, there's so many I could think of that are kind of filling the gap in terms of supporting cancer survivors after the treatments are done, and throughout, really. But I think we're lucky to have that. But there's so much room for more to be done. So we're excited to be a part of the community and helping the healing process afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. And I know Night's Cabin does not exclusively work with the young adult cancer population, but
Mhm.
has certainly served many young adults. And ultimately, what I love is, so we know in our community, and I'm sure within the Night's Cabin community, some young adults, for them, being done treatment is not necessarily part of their trajectory, and they might be living
Mhm.
with cancer long term. But at the
Mhm.
same time, to offer tools and ways for people to cope with the quality of life with, through, and beyond when those
Mhm.
for those who do go after is huge. And as we were looking, like, for us, of course, we focus on the young adult population, and we were looking at the trying to find the incidence, like the number of people living past
Mhm.
a cancer diagnosis as a young adult. And there's 200 over 200,000 young adults in Canada who are living beyond a cancer diagnosis. So that means from the moment they're diagnosed on,
Mhm.
that is
Mhm.
not insignificant. So to your point, to join forces with the community organizations and the institutions and hospitals
Mhm.
to actually figure out a way to address what happens after, because we always say, like, I'm sure some people listening are going to say it at the same time as me, but it takes longer to recover from cancer than to be treated for cancer. So
Yeah.
we need to put some stuff in place. And I think so within your retreat, you offer, like, I think, sessions, yoga sessions and nutrition and meditation and things like that, correct?
Yeah, so we would bring in experts. Well, Lisa is an expert in behavior change and mindfulness, that kind of thing. So she would present on that kind of thing. And then we would bring experts in on nutrition, a registered dietitian. We have a wonderful gal in Newfoundland that has helped us with our sleep programming. And that we would have yoga classes. We always go on hikes, which was, I think, everyone that has attended a retreat, especially in Banff and Canmore, because of course, like the mountains there are very beautiful. That was just like one of the most cherished moments of the retreat. So many of the participants were saying that they didn't think they could get up that hike. They didn't think they could, do something like that. And with the support of the other survivors and caregivers, with the support of the Knights Cabin team, um, they were able to do that. And it was like this wonderful, like, triumph. And then the awe that you get when you're surrounded by such natural beauty, it's yeah, it's pretty wonderful. We definitely miss being able to hold those retreats and connect with people.
I know. And so for again, for anyone right now, if you are watching this now, you know that the country and the world has been in a pandemic, which has really, for organizations like ours, changed a lot of what we do. So right now we are doing online stuff a lot, or pausing on a lot of the face-to-face elements, including retreats. So it's the same thing for us right now.
Mhm.
Our face-to-face retreats are on hold because of safety measures. But as I was listening to you and speaking of the hikes in the mountain, I know my memory of some of the first few times I connected with Lisa, the founder of Knight's Cabin, were really tied in many ways to exercise, movement, nature. Like my memory, anyway, is some of what she loved and focused on had to do with that. So, how much of this influenced you all creating the Walk It Out project, and then what is the project?
Yeah, so I'm so excited about Walk It Out. Essentially, it was inspired by obviously the knowledge that we have that, like exercise is such an incredible healing tool for your mental and physical health. But our board president, Sarah, when she was going through cancer, and still, I think to this day, went on walks with her good friend, Jim Button, who is living through cancer as well, and they found that it was they looked forward to it. Their conversations were incredible. They felt, they could be vulnerable. So she kind of brought the idea to us, which we were very grateful for. Um, and then just, not really knowing what to do next with Knight's Cabin, we're like, this hasn't been done before. We've had research programs, um, that have run, 8-week trail walking program for cancer survivors to kind of see what the effect is of those programs for them, but nothing permanent, essentially. So we took the research and we've created Walk It Out, which is an ambassador-led program they form small walking groups and it can be introduced to any community all across Canada. Um, Essentially, the ambassador is going to be working with us to recruit other participants. So that can be cancer survivors or caregivers, because caregivers need care as well. Like they've gone through so much as well. So we're happy to be supporting them too in this program. And the idea is to get out, get outside, get walking, and share companionship with people that have walked in the same shoes as you. So that's kind of the broad overview of the program.
Yeah, and I think for anyone listening, so I know that the COVID era has had people walking a lot because for big chunks of time, walking was the only thing we could do if we were on lockdown. And so it's funny because people joke about that, but I have never seen that many people walking around my house since I've lived here
Yeah.
than this last year. But I know that maybe some of you are thinking, well, that's pretty simple. But I think sometimes we overcomplicate what we need to do to have an impact and thinking that we need to do something really big or something really intense physically or something where really actually walking is pretty powerful by itself on many levels. It's part of mindfulness, and there's like mindful walking, and but I think the combination of course, moving our body, but also doing this outside with peers. There has to be those elements that are they part of the research as well, of the curiosities you have of the efficacy of that?
Yeah, so part of the program, we're actually running a research study with Dr. Iris Lesser. She's at the University of the Fraser Valley, and she's worked with us before on kind of measuring the impact of our retreats. So what she did last year was an 8-week trail walking program with cancer survivors. And the outcomes from that study were essentially like every participant stated lower levels of stress, lower levels of anxiety, both after each trail walk and then also after the program as a whole. And so there have been other studies as well. I think one study was strictly with breast cancer survivors, and they found that the walking and talking created a form of shoulder to shoulder support that just wasn't necessarily a given in like a sedentary kind of peer support, I guess, setting, right? Because that doesn't work for everyone. It's hard to share. But there's something, even for me, walking and talking with friends, the conversation just flows so freely.
Mhm.
I find it really easy to be vulnerable, just the act of doing something and moving while you're talking. So
Mhm.
um, the component that we're doing is it's just basically it's going to be the first 6 months of the program. And Dr. Iris Lesser is going to, it's just survey based. So one survey at the beginning, I think one survey 3 months in, and then one survey at the 6 month mark.
Okay.
And so what we're looking at is what are the benefits of a green walking program for cancer survivors on anxiety and overall mental well-being. And then we're also evaluating whether the experience of being connected socially to your peers, how does that impact your anxiety and overall mental well-being as well? So
That
we're
is
excited.
really cool. That is really cool, and we are going to explore ways to make that definitely accessible to our community members, but maybe ways for Yak and Nights Cabin to work together. But as I'm listening to you, so since 2012, Yak has started the Retreat Yourself Adventure program, which will come back after the pandemic is over. But a big portion of that programming is hiking. So we bring young adults to that event with their supporters if they want to bring one. And we hike. So we climb, basically, we hike Grossmorn Mountain and we hike another mountain in the west coast of Newfoundland. And to your point, I think for a variety of reasons, a lot of people had said, when you start walking, of course, the intensity or the confidence that some of our community members have towards their body's capacity, because for many it's like it's been a long time. I haven't climbed a mountain since
Yeah.
treatment, and so to that relationship with the intensity physically is one thing, but the conversation that take place on the trail, and sometimes when you hike with a bunch of people, you find yourself with one person for a while, and then it's
Yeah.
another person because you took a water break and someone else caught up with you and now you're walking with someone else. And I think you're right, where the conversation flows very differently when you are in movement and when you are outside, not inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And like I know, like I spend a lot of time in the outdoors, and some of my greatest friendships and bonds have been kind of forged in those kind of settings, right? Hiking or more challenging, perhaps, times outside when the weather is not doing what you want it to do, which it never does. Um, and that kind of thing, scarier times like climbing or whatever. Um, it's a really great way to form really powerful, like long lasting friendships and relationships. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
And
Yeah.
when you're in movement, your thoughts as well are not,
Mhm.
chances are you might not stay stuck on the same thought over and over again if you're moving and there's like
Mhm.
different, scenery around you. I think it helps us sometimes get unstuck or get into a different headspace when we need to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like I don't think necessarily saying like, oh, distract yourself, but it is a healthy form of distracting yourself, to focus on your natural environment, your surroundings. I think people often forget that we are part of nature as well. We live in very controlled, climate controlled environments. We don't really have to go outside. A lot of people, like I know in Calgary, we have those +15s where you go downtown, you can park underground, go upstairs, walk to your building through a +15, um, and then go home into your garage. You never have to set foot outside,
Yeah.
which in -30, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's fine by me.
Yeah.
But the benefits of spending time in nature have become so clear that there's actually a program called Parks Prescriptions that is, I think it started in BC and
Yeah.
it's now in Ontario. Yeah. So doctors are prescribing time in nature for depression, anxiety, for cancer survivors. There are oncologists that have signed up in this program to prescribe that. Um, so yeah, I highly recommend checking out those websites as well, though, because they have a ton of really great information and pamphlets that you can read up on just for your community.
Yeah, I'll post that information for sure. And I'm with you. And I'm guessing like within the Walk It Out projects, I'm thinking of our community members who might live downtown Toronto or
Mm-hmm.
who might not have a car. And so the accessibility of nature is
Mm-hmm.
not as easy. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
would you say there are in betweens where really actually walking with a group or just being outside of your home still has its benefits because, as we know, nature is not as accessible to everyone depending on where you live.
Absolutely. I know just like the benefits of walking alone, for example, like walking 150 minutes a week can actually reduce the risk of many major chronic diseases. And then they say 20 minutes a day is enough to lower your risk of certain types of cancers and to improve your mental health. Um, and yeah, I think it's something that we can get hung up on. Like you don't have to drive to the mountains. You don't have to um, go to a beach or walk along a lake shore. You can find nature in small inner city parks. Like I know I live in a city and I work. You can't always escape to a beautiful area, but we have green space, and I know there is green space in Toronto. So just walking outside is a start. Like just breathe in the fresh air, feel that whatever the weather's doing, kind of putting yourself at the mercy of it. And then if you can find your way to a park, that's even better. I think they say the greener the space, like the better the impact, I think, on your mental health.
Yeah.
um, but it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can just be small minutes of being outside.
And a part of me feels, excuse me, you know how it also has to do with awareness and of the beauty around us.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, depending on where we walk, I know that I do a walk around my house that I could actually go around the lake, but there's often a lot of people there. And I'm like, nah, I just want to get my walk in. So I'll kind of stay in on streets. But as I was exploring, at some point, I realized that the view, I live in St. John's, it's beautiful, but the view was wicked amazing. So I stopped. So now when I do my kind of walk around, I always stop at the same place where I can from far see the ocean. I can see, Signal Hill, that's where I live. But there is where ultimately, though, I'm not in a park. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not in the woods. I'm in a neighborhood where there's houses behind me and houses, but it is sometimes to find. I found a tree that is alone in a field of, I'm sure, what will be construction in the future, but
Mm-hmm.
I love that tree. So I've kind of made a habit to stop and take a picture of that tree if I feel like it, or just look at how it looks with the weeks coming. So sometimes it is also about acknowledging and having awareness of what is around you as you walk and what are some of your favorite places. And then take the time to acknowledge this and appreciate this. I think that makes a big difference, regardless of where you are.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, just, I think it's even like a way to practice mindfulness to really be aware of your surroundings and be grateful for the trees that are giving us oxygen and for the green space or for the views that you can find and the little, even in the inner city, like there are beautiful buildings and cool little things. Like, if you're noticing, all of a sudden your mind's not on your anxiety. It's not focused on the things that are kind of hurting you. You're focusing on things that are beautiful and outside, and expressing your gratitude for that.
Yeah, and to find a buddy. So I know that we will
Mhm.
talk about how people can get involved with Walk It Out, but even as you walk, like sometimes I know some of our community members are still in a place where physically long walks are not an option really for them. So
Mhm.
it's like, well, you know what? It's not about going out for an hour walk. Maybe
Mhm.
it's about finding someone who's not going to care how fast or how long you walk, but to find the right buddy to do that with, and then
Mhm.
to do it so that it does not become a chore and become something like, oh my god, I have to go for, just make it so that it is good and that you can start getting into the habit. And I know I'm thinking of one of our community members, but I've seen her build into now doing 10 kilometers walk in her day to day, and that's in the last year she kind of had decided that she was going to walk every day for an hour. And so how that is built into her life and has made an impact on her health and her quality of life and her mental health, I'm sure if we asked her,
Mhm.
all of those things were gradual. She kind of
Yeah.
incorporated it gradually. And I think everybody can just do that and not judge themselves if they're not
Yeah.
walking. Some days 20 minutes is as much as I'm going to do because I don't
Mhm.
have time or I don't, feel as great. And then that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know to make it fun and like do not put pressure on yourself and just go slow and make it more about just being outside and moving gently. I mean, yeah, like that's my number one tip would be to start slow, of course, especially if you're coming out of treatments or still in treatments. You want to be gentle with yourself.
Mhm.
And you don't want to make it something you dread. Like you said, it shouldn't be a chore. But behavior change science or research has shown that having a peer or someone else that kind of helps you hold yourself accountable to whatever activity or habit you're trying to incorporate into your life. So with walking, having a friend and scheduling that activity, it's proven to, I guess, make it easier to make it a part of your daily life or weekly life or whatever you're able to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And so before we wrap up, so it's really neat to hear you say, even in the knowledge of the impact walking in nature can have, and then in what Walk It Out is going to look into for 6 months to gather even more data on how good it can be around distress and around emotional, physical stress itself. How can people get involved in Walk It Out?
So right now we are in the phase where we're kind of like looking for ambassadors and participants, and then trying to match participants with ambassadors. Um, so it's been a challenge, but we're excited to say like we have people signed up in BC, in Alberta, like Edmonton, Calgary, and then 3 or 4 different areas of Ontario, like all southern Ontario, kind of where the bulk of the population is. Um, no one out east yet, like farther out east in your area, but hopefully soon. So if anyone were to, if you wanted to sign up, you can just reach out to me, or like I can give you a link for the sign up form or to the page on our website where we have a little bit more information. um, and we are working with people to help recruit, I guess, other participants. So it's something that the ambassador can help with, because we're not living where that ambassador lives. They might have more information, but yeah, essentially just reach out to me or sign up online, and you can kind of start a little walking group. Even 2 people depends on the COVID regulations,
Mhm.
right? You might need masks. You might not be able to start in May. It just depends on your local regulations, but we can help you with all of that. So
Yeah, and that's great. And I think that's the reality right now, where we never know from one month to the next, like how much we'll have to adapt or not. But
mm-hmm.
one thing that has been pretty consistent, I guess, is the capacity for most of us, most times, to be able to walk on our own, like by ourselves,
Yeah.
or with someone in our bubble, if you have someone living with you. But I know I don't, but I've been going on walks by myself even during lockdown because it was an option. So I think as people maybe explore and are interested in
Mm-hmm.
joining, depending on the timing and the restrictions and the safety measures, you can still yourself start yourself up into this routine of walking, just
Yeah.
walking more and seeing how that feels.
Absolutely. Like that would be my, if I could say one final thing, it would be to just get outside and like, depending on where you're at, you can start with just a walk. Like you don't have to wait for Walk It Out to launch. If you've been working on building up your, physical, I guess, endurance or strength, you can start doing something more exciting like hiking. I know for like young adults, walking, if you're already past that, you might not be as excited about that, but
Mm.
like hiking, climbing, those kinds of things where you build resilience, that you can carry with you in your day to day. Just, yeah, get outside and get some fresh air. Summer is very close to
It
being
is
here.
coming. It is coming.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And I would add to that some of what we already touched on, Katie, to say pick a road or a route that is appealing to you for whatever reason. Don't solely focus. So, like I was saying, to me, I could have choices where for some people they would say, well, that's much prettier going there. But there are all kinds of other reasons why I like the route I created.
Mm-hmm.
And so do that for yourself as well. And hey, worst case scenario, which I know for some of our community members, the obstacles to going outside at certain times are there and real in
Mm-hmm.
your house. Like, do this. Like the other day I have a Fitbit, and I went and shoveled and whatever, and I was really close to my 10,000 steps, which I really do not do every day, in case anyone is wondering. I was so close, and I was like, oh damn, I'm not going back outside, I don't feel like it. So I totally walked in my house
Yeah,
until my watch like told me that I hit 10,000.
yeah,
And I was like,
yeah,
there we go.
yeah.
And you know what? If someone from the exterior saw me, they were probably thinking, oh my God, she's pacing, something's happening. Oh no, I was just hitting my walking steps, my
Yeah.
10,000 steps. But even that is a start to kind of get your body used to maybe moving a bit more,
Mhm.
and getting that on the go. And that can make a difference. So sometimes we shouldn't discredit, I can't go outside, so I'm not going to do anything.
Mhm.
Well, maybe you can just be a bit more active in the house and start there, instead of beating yourself up if you didn't do anything.
Yeah,
I'm not, yeah, I'm not a fan
yeah,
of that.
absolutely. Like anything counts, right? Like there's no reason not to start right away. Um, with just yeah, moving more in whatever way that you can. And yeah, don't be hard on yourself. And with one story about the Fitbit, Lisa's husband Lou put his Fitbit on the dog. They were competing. So don't do that. She's
Don't do
like, how
that.
did he get that many steps? It was on the dog, on his collar.
So that's how. No, I would
Yeah,
never. Oh my God, no.
that's pretty
No.
funny.
That is too funny.
Yeah.
How many, do you know how many steps you did?
Oh, I don't know, probably 20,000 or something. I don't know exactly, but it was a lot more. And Lisa was like, "You've
That's
been here all day. Like, what's going on?"
Oh, I love this. Well,
Yeah,
that's something to consider. If you're
yeah,
in a contest or something, think about
yeah.
that. Cheat. No, no. Thank you so much for this. Like, I hope that, with the timing, and spring is coming and it's happening, and summer will follow. And one thing for sure is season happen in this beautiful country of ours.
Mhm.
Hopefully, the conversation I had with Katie today inspires you. And if you want to maybe take part in Walk It Out, we're going to put all this information here and on our site, so you'll know how to do it. But ultimately, the basic can be walk around your house, but then ideally go outside, and ideally go outside where there's some greens and nature and you have a buddy with you. Like, if we look at all the
Mhm.
benefits, you can kind of try and mix all of this, and really reap the benefit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me and giving me the chance to talk about nature and, the benefits and walk it out and all of that. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been lovely.
Thank you. And I will look forward and maybe invite you back when Knight's Cabin has had the research and has found some data, so we can talk about this, because I think there's so much power in not doing research that lives in journals only that nobody can read, but
Yeah.
doing research that I know Lisa and Knight's Cabin have been really prone to disseminating, like telling people, here's what we found and here's what you can do now, and know the impact it can have. So I would love to have you back whenever those results come in the year coming, to talk about it.
Absolutely. That would be awesome.
Awesome. And as I do every Monday, I always remind everyone and myself to just breathe. If throughout your day you're going for a walk and taking a pause, it's sunny here because it's daytime in Newfoundland right now. I might actually, after talking to you, Katie, I might put my shoes on and just go for a quick walk, and just kind of just breathe through your day whenever you need it. I always say, even when things are good, it's important to acknowledge and take it in. And when
Mhm.
things are maybe a bit more challenging, it's not like our breath can solve every problem, but it can definitely help ground us back into the present moment and
Mhm.
remind ourselves that we have the resources inside of us to cope with whatever's coming. So just breathe, friends, and hope
Mhm.
you have a great day. Thank you again so much, Katie. Love this,
Thank you
and we're
so
going to be
much.
in touch. Have a great
Thank
rest
you.
of the day, everyone. Bye.